So let's just give it another couple of minutes for folks to come online before we get started.
No.
Wait.
Hello, everybody. It's Joe Burden here. So if this is your first Ian Update Zoom, we're going to put everybody on mute and let's use the chat feature for questions.
No, it's everything but the,
Now.
yeah.
Seeing them.
It would be fun to see all the people and see what they look like. Ooh, yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I see a few of you guys still coming on here. So I'll just wait. I'll wait another minute or so. If this is your first association Zoom, just so you know, we're going to use the chat feature for questions. I've got you on mute. That way there's no background noise or et cetera. I've got 163 and counting here. So we'll try to do this organized. I am going to start from the top, though, assuming I'm sure a lot of questions has to do with the emails that you got this morning regarding ground floor units. So I am going to start right from the top there and try to take you through that. I'll try to tell you everything I know about the process that your associations went through in arriving at this decision. And then I'll let you know. I will say this: if you're in Southmont Cove, for some reason, we have had an inordinate amount of emails that were bounced back. It never happened before. You know, we send emails and we send thousands of them, sometimes in batches. We may get one or two returned, but the first time we tried to send that Southmont email today at 9:15, we actually had almost half of them bounce back. Sharon just tried to resend it and we had another 100 bounce back. So if you're getting the email duplicate, it's the same info. We're just resending in an attempt to try to get it to people that didn't get it, but we're not really sure what's causing that. So I'm going to start from the top, and this may be remedial for some people, but I think it's important as we get into the guts of this issue is, you know, understanding the fact that you all live in a condominium association, and the rules of those associations are governed by Florida Statute 718. And we have our own documents that govern each association as well. When I say we, each of your associations do, but for the most part, there's a lot of standard language in there that's consistent across all Florida condos. And one of those is in regards to what you as a unit owner actually owns in your unit. And I know that's, in times like these, that becomes the most confusing part. But in essence, what you own in your unit is anything inside the drywall and the air in your condominium, okay? So that would mean your personal property. You do not own the walls, you do not own the floors, you do not own your cabinets, you don't own your garage doors, you do not own your AC units, and you do not own your water heaters. Essentially, everything that's included in this master flood policy is included in that because it's really the ownership of the association that owns that. And the association is all of you. You all group own all of that in your association. So in times like these, especially these disasters, when we're dealing with insurance and we're dealing with policies that cover what the association owns, we have to follow the guidelines of the insurance. It's not a decision that's being arbitrarily made by your board or by LCA or by me. We have to follow this. And I don't want to scare anybody, but if I had to guesstimate right now throughout all of Lexington, when this is said and done, we could be looking at close to $150 million in insurance claims. And if we misstep in this process and we don't do things right up front, then we are jeopardizing taking advantage of what is ours on our insurance policy. So I don't mean to come off too strong, and I understand the frustration. I understand the anger that's out there, but folks, I'm giving you the reality and legally what we need to do here. So I just want to give you that background because not everybody understands what you really own and what your association owns. So let's talk about the remediation process and what has happened the last 48 hours. As we have said from the beginning, this process was going to be thorough, and the commitment to remediate these units 100% was the only objective. We also talked about early on, we were bringing a third-party outside contractor, not affiliated with Lexington, not affiliated with Clyde Johnson. We brought a company in from Massachusetts. They are environmental specialists, and the last 2 days, they have been water mapping units. They've been going into units. They've been determining where the moisture penetrated, at what levels, and they've also done water testing to confirm the type of water that we're dealing with. So let's start with the water that we're dealing with first. This is what's called Cat 3 water. This is the most severe contaminated water that you can deal with. We are dealing with Cat 3, and you can look it up. It is essentially black water, and it can contain many different contaminants, well outside the concerns of mold and algae. And quite frankly, mold and algae is easier to remediate in these situations because those surfaces can be cleaned. Mold can be remediated with the right products. However, with Cat 3 water, because it does have those living organisms in there, the standard is anything that comes in contact with that Cat 3 water that is a porous material, okay? That's wood, that's carpet, you name it. The standard protocol to remediate is to dispose of. You cannot clean that. So it doesn't matter if you had 1 inch of water in your home, and it doesn't matter if you had 4 feet. It doesn't matter if the water was in there for an hour or if it was in there for 5 days. If that water penetrated a porous surface, the assumption is that that water and whatever that organic matter was in there, the bad stuff, it is possibly inside the wood, it's inside the flooring, etc. So that is why your association had to act quickly, because the remediation plan changed. Initially, it was, you know what, we're going to work within each unit and we're going to evaluate how bad the flooding was. And if we have the opportunity to save cabinets, to save built-ins, we're going to save everything we can. We're going to clean it instead of pulling it out. However, with this finding and confirmation and with this independent contractor here, they're telling us that the only way to do this 100% is to dispose of this. And we've also confirmed that with our insurance companies. The adjusters on site are consistent that that is what the insurance companies will support. Again, if we don't follow the experts' advice and we don't follow the guidance of our adjusters, we are going to jeopardize our ability to get a claim resolved on this. So with that being said, that is why your association boards met and as individual groups decided it was in the best interest, because for the most part of the 500 or so units that are in the 500 associations, almost all of them took at least some water. There are a couple of isolated instances that say they didn't take water, but the water mapping process will confirm that. And that's still ongoing in some communities. But for the most part, you took on water and that water was in contact with these porous surfaces, thus the full remediation. And so if you're following along here, the reasoning, if we're going to come in and now we have to take out the cabinets, and now we have to take out the vanities, and now we have to make sure that areas like behind showers and underneath tubs didn't get into the drywall with the water, then it's easy to see that homes aren't livable if you don't have restrooms, a place to wash your hand, and a place to take a shower. That's not our decision in terms of whether it's livable or not. I mean, that's the occupancy ordinances that say you can't be there. So that was the decision-making process that has really happened in the last 36 hours. And we've had to move quickly on this. It is incredibly inconvenient. It's a hard shot to the mouth. It's not going to be easy, but at the end of the day, your association and their leadership have to do what the experts and the insurance companies tell us to do. This isn't, my home is fine, it's dry, I'm going to stay there, you're going to have to toss me out. Folks, it ain't about that, okay? Your association has the authority to do this 100%, and they're doing it because they're protecting their assets. And it's difficult to comprehend, it's difficult to get your arms around, but please stay with us on this. Understand these decisions are made in very high emotional times, and I get the frustration. With that being said, I also want to give you some more details on some efforts we're doing with our LCA staff to try to help some of you that are more critically impacted by this decision. We all know it's not easy to come outside these gates and to grab a short-term condo for a month or two. We get that, okay? However, we do have a lot of resources here at Lexington within our staff, and we will be setting up an outreach center come Monday morning. And our goal is, if you are severely impacted, if you are displaced and you absolutely have nowhere to go, you need to come see us, and we're going to work with you individually. And our hope is we will have some resources to provide you to give you possibly some options for some short-term rentals. And we're also reaching out to those of you out there that are really our true snowbirds, that never come down here until the winter time. And maybe you never rent out your unit. We're also going to make a plea to you to consider renting your unit through the end of December. And we're going to ask you to consider that in the hope that we can find people a place to be. I mean, that is really the nuts and bolts. And I'm sure that you all have many questions, but I wanted to at least set the tone here in terms of what's going on, because, you know, a 10-paragraph email doesn't always provide the context that we're dealing with. So I'm going to jump in. I think some of the other updates we put out on Facebook today regarding the golf cart and things like that, I think we can skip over that. That's not priority. Let me go up here. I mean, I may have some questions here that I already covered. So first one's talking about who got contacted by wood flooring was not removed. Just so you know, I mean, everything's going to be fully remediated, and really Clyde Johnson is still mobilizing in certain areas. Just because you had dehumidifiers in and somebody said they were going to come back the next day to do your floors, do not think that anybody forgot you. I mean, we are still, believe it or not, today, I had 2 phone calls from owners that said, I haven't even checked on my unit, I'm not sure if I still have wet carpet. So we are still chasing our tails, trying to get after some of the more vulnerable areas just to get water out of units to help with any mold issues that we're going to have. So let me see here. Yeah, drywall cut. Okay, let's cover that because everybody's got questions about that. So industry standard is to do a drywall cut that is 1 foot over the highest water mark, okay? However, we're also thinking down the road in terms of expense and speed. And the reality is a 4-foot drywall cut is going to provide more efficiency and speed and actually be more cost effective than to make a 1-foot 3-inch drywall cut, because it's a full sheet of drywall that's going back in. So that is the reason of the 4-foot drywall cut across the board, because at the end of the day, the restoration process will be cheaper and quicker to reinstall that. So I know there's a lot of questions about that, and I know there's a lot of theories on why we're doing that, but that's why we're doing it, because it's not going to cost us as much and we're going to get it done quicker. So I think those are both pretty good reasons why we decided on that. So somebody's asking about displaced in priority. Absolutely. If you're year-round and you're displaced, you need to come see me Monday morning, 10 a.m., and we'll work with you. I will have those resources by then. With regards to vacate notice, who pays for relocation and how are we supposed to secure a rental? I think I covered that. And again, I don't know your personal insurance. However, some policies do have loss of use. And so like we've done before, I encourage you to communicate with your insurance agent. Open up a claim and keep them posted on what your situation is. Here's the other thing that I recommend. From what I can tell, you become a better candidate for FEMA when you've been displaced. So even if you've already filed for FEMA, chances are you answered a question in there that related to the extent of your damage and whether your home's livable or whether you've been displaced, et cetera. I suggest you go in there and you update that profile, because my understanding is when you're displaced, you become a higher priority with FEMA. So that is another option. And those are both resources we're going to be providing at the Outreach Center, and we'll have computers set up and we'll try to help you do that as well. But if you can do that now, please do that. But again, there is no loss of use coverage on the master association policies, and that's normal. There never is. But you may have loss of use coverage in either your personal property or your personal flood insurance. Encourage you to reach out to your agent. Gotcha. Question here basically about where we're at in the process, if they're going to get their dry roll remediated or not. But again, the process will be the process. We'll be around. We'll be getting to everybody. However, one thing that's important here is, one thing that I've seen that's happening, which is great, is the teams that are coming into your units, if you have personal property that's there, they are collecting that in a central location and they are covering that with plastic and they're protecting it. Okay. With this new information that we're taking out the lower cabinets, if you're still around and there's a way to clear those lower cabinets, whether you try to put more stuff in your upper cabinets or whether you have a couch in your room still and you put everything on the couch, that could only help us in terms of moving quickly. If you don't have that wherewithal or you're not here, then the crews in there will relocate that. But everything is kept inside your unit and it's covered with plastic throughout the entire remediation process. So question about how long. I think it said in all of the how long in terms of these ground floor units. I'm going to guesstimate that in the next 7 to 10 days, we will have a handle on that. And I don't want to speculate, but one optimistic view of this happening is these crews will absolutely work faster and more efficient without people around. There's no doubt about it. So the timeline, once it fully ramps up, it will move more quickly. And I'm hopeful maybe next week at this time, we can give you a little better indication, but we're definitely talking about a week's situation here, not days. A question about an adjuster and blanket decisions. I think I've covered that. I mean, that's exactly what the association has to do is really make decisions for the entire association based on what they're getting from the experts. Yeah, somebody asked about when they hired an outside contractor and when to file for repayment. Yeah, it's a good question. So the process going on in the background here, as you probably, some of you know, is each of your associations has opened up claims. And then that ends up starting up adjusters contacting us. We have adjusters out in the community. We don't control that. They call us, we schedule them. Many communities have more than one adjuster taking different buildings. That's happening now. once the adjuster gets through with all of the units in an association, they'll do their paperwork and they'll turn that into the insurance company. We're being told that once that happens, we can expect some sort of payment, if you will, 45 to 60 days out from that. And at that time, we'll work with your associations to develop what they want in terms of that reimbursement process for those things that you're outlaying for now, albeit a contractor that you hired to remediate early on, or maybe you bought a new air conditioner unit, maybe you fixed your garage door. Again, those are all things, if you want to proceed with, you may do so. Just save your receipts, make sure they're a Florida, they have a business license or from Florida, and also make sure that they're noting the work is due to the storm surge damage. Yeah, so that's a good question here. So in terms of drywall completion and what we've contracted CJC to do, we've only contracted them thus far to complete the drywall installation. And I know some of you have texturing on there. That texturing is definitely something that can be handled in the restoration process, whether you end up hiring your own contractor or you hire somebody here on site. But initially, they are not going to take the time to texture each wall, because the quicker we get drywall in, the closer we get to getting everybody into the restoration process. So they won't texture initially. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think they're telling that somebody's talking about AC. So yeah, I mean, if your AC is running, it is proper protocol to keep that running even when you're not there. And that is something for those of you that aren't here, where those crews have gotten in there and really started going at it with the drywall cuts, et cetera. They are making sure the air's on, and they're trying to make sure that the windows are closed, and we're trying to keep that humidity out of there. So will you be able to get into your unit after 10/18? So legally, no, you're not allowed to. That's the rule of your association. I'll leave it at that. But if you're going to sneak in and grab a new pair of pants or something like that, we're not going to have armed security guards there. I'll just say that. But I mean, the order is not to be in those units. And anytime you come around, if they're working there, you're only going to delay them. So that's just my advice. So yeah, I mean, just in case you haven't seen the email, I mean, what's being put out there, it's the same for all 5 associations. The only thing that alters a little bit is the fact that the dates, the actual, drop dead date, if you will, is a little bit different. So refer to that communication that's come out. If you didn't get that, they do have paper copies. If you're still struggling with email, et cetera, they have paper copies here at the front desk. Solid countertops. So yeah, good question. So this is what we've heard from the adjusters in terms of like granite countertops, et cetera, because we're removing the cabinets now. They're going to write up the report suggesting to save the countertops. However, the practical end of this, and the adjusters all agree with us, is it's going to be very difficult to save countertops. However, if they get a countertop off without it breaking, they will save it. If they don't, then that insurance coverage will cover that countertop. But they're going to try, but I can tell you, and those contractors will tell you, you're not going to have a lot of success with the seams, et cetera, of saving countertops. Will you be contacted when our unit is free and clear? Absolutely. I think we're still committed. I mean, my commitment had been this week, but I think this right-hand turn has delayed things. I can say, I can feel that next week we should have some semblance of a schedule that we can send out to each association to tell you where crews are, what they're doing, where they're moving to the next day. And if you're not here, you're going to get that information via email or even Facebook. So our attempt is to let you know what's going on. Will we get these reports to use for our flood insurance? Absolutely. 100%. These crews from OHI, and they've been out in force. They're working hard to document things, but when they're done with that, each association is going to get a full written report, and we need that for insurance. And if you've got personal flood or property, you may be asked for that as well. Yeah, so no, the framing, the wood framing, somebody's asking about the Cat 3 water and the framing. I've heard nobody talk about any concerns about the framing being contaminated, but it's mainly the drywall, the cabinets, that sort of thing. Question here, does it mean we have to throw out all furniture? So, I think this comes down to a personal decision, and, we're following the gold standard protocol for remedying the Cat 3 water being in there. I can tell you that you could probably have conversations with 10 people, and some of them will say you should always follow the standard protocol, and some are going to say, you know what, you can probably replace the legs on that couch and that couch will be fine because the water didn't get to the cushion. I really think on personal property, you need to make your own decisions on that. That's really all that I can say. What you're comfortable with. I mean, you can do more research on Cat 3, but I mean, it's the scariest of anything is going to be in what's defined as Cat 3, because it's a catch-all really for anything bad. It's black water. So, yeah, so metal legs isn't a porous surface. So anything metal can be cleaned. That's not a problem. The issue is this water getting inside a porous surface. And even though it dries out, those organisms can still live inside that surface. And so the concern is what happens 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road if those organisms begin to grow again, because some of these organisms don't need water to grow. So it's not about being dry when it comes to a porous surface, but on a metal surface, just the opposite. You can clean that, and those organisms, those bacteria didn't get into that metal because it's not porous. Good time to fix the ancient plumbing. Okay, I think, well, I'll forward that to the powers that be. Personal items in your lanai or garage. Absolutely. The only thing is, if you have a garage and you want to store personal items, I would just ask that you try to centrally locate them, and just envision the fact that the next phase here is going to be going into garages and starting the remediation there. So if you've got drywall in your garage, you're going to assume you're going to get a drywall cut. So as long as those crews have a place to walk around and to cut that, you can use your garage. And obviously, if your lanai is still secure and you're not missing sliders, or you have holes in your screen, then yes, you can put stuff in your lanai. They're not going to be there right now. A couple of these are more questions about wooden legs and chairs and tables and things like that. So I think I addressed that. Southmont Cove email. Hopefully I addressed that at the beginning. We're trying to fix that. I have no idea why we're having issues with Southmont Cove email database bouncing back, but Sharon was going to send it a third time to try to get to the rest of you. Yeah, a question here about switches, panels, wiring. Yes, that's all covered under the master flood policy. I think I already talked about the next questions about metal furniture. Will the association policy cover the cost of my quartz countertop? So each unit is being adjusted differently, and that's why they're coming into each of your units. So they're going to note if you've got quartz countertops, then they're going to note that, and I would assume that that's going to come in at a different value than somebody that has the standard laminate countertop. So I mean that would be my assumption. We'll know more once we get the reports back. If you have a place through December 31st, when you're looking for a place longer than that. Again, I don't want to speculate, but I believe that's a good time frame. That's what we're asking owners who have rental units that they want to provide and rent to Lexington owners, is if they can secure that through December 31st. I'm hoping that buys enough time, but again, we'll know in a week or two. Yeah. I think I covered the insurance policy. If it covers rental costs for those residents who are displaced, it does not. So the master policy does not have any loss of use coverage, but you may find loss of use coverage in your personal policies. It's possible. Metal bed frames. Yes, you absolutely can go back into your unit to remove furniture to try to salvage things up until that deadline date. You can, yes. Another question about furniture. Yeah, somebody's asking about second floors. Absolutely, we will check that. I can tell you, I believe the last I heard, the highest water level that they recorded was 56 inches. I may be off a couple inches. So there's no concerns about Cat 3 water infiltrating second floor units. If you've got water in your unit, it's going to be rain-forced wind water. It's going to come from the wind or something blowing in. So, but we are going to be looking at those second floor and higher units. And if you remember yesterday's Zoom, I encourage you guys living second floor or higher to email Jennifer if you've got a list of things that you know are damaged, acrylic sliders, maybe a window that's leaking, stuff like that. Please let her know so we can start getting that list together. What needs to be accomplished in each unit to be habitable? Essentially, to get that UNO back, that occupancy permit, you're going to need a place to wash your hands, a place to go to the bathroom, and a place to take a shower. We believe that's the bare minimum. And I can tell you, we're already talking about down the road, if we have a certain amount of owners that are critically displaced that come to us for outreach, we're talking about, prioritizing that group first on maybe some temporary basis. So we're looking at some temporary solutions once we're remediated, but we're probably a little bit away from organizing that and communicating that. But we've already talked about, okay, remediation is done. Can we get people in there on a bare minimum basis while we go through the restoration process? And that's definitely what the goal is, to get you back in as quick as possible. This is not our main residence. Are we eligible for FEMA? What I'm hearing, again, I tell you to go to the website and register regardless, but what I'm hearing is that FEMA is only available if you're a Florida resident. That's what I'm hearing, but try it out. What about second homes that are not rental units? Does FEMA cover that? I'm not clear on that. Again, I think the best thing you all can do, go online or call the number, although that's going to take a long time, or walk across. I think they're still at the library down Bass Road during the day. Register for FEMA. I mean, it's not very difficult. It's about a 15-minute process online. You need your insurance information, your address, social security number, and I'm telling you, they'll put you in the portal and you'll get updates on how your claim is doing with them. So, can lanai garage be used for storage? We covered that. Yes, it can. Yeah, talking about the 4-foot vertical removal of drywall, definitely is going to take out mirrors. Yeah, absolutely. The mirrors are going to go. And if you've got tile, that's the issue with the bathrooms, is that 4-foot cut is really going to make those tubs and showers not usable by taking that tile down to the studs. So yes, you can leave stuff in upper cabinets. Great question here. Somebody's saying, if my unit's unharmed and I'm willing to rent it out, will Lexington bend the rules on rentals? We are talking about that, but I can tell you, we're proposing waiving the fee to rent, and certainly working with you on timeframes, because normally it's a 30-day minimum, but we are going to bend rules to make people accommodated here. Absolutely. So if you're interested in doing having a unit you want to rent, please email me. That's what tonight's communication will be, is to email me directly, and I'll get in touch with you and we'll kind of talk about what you have. And that way I have that information available for Monday. How will you know if your building is water free and therefore livable? I mean, we're going to continue to communicate to you guys and let you know what's going on. How do we communicate issues to CJC? Example, humidifier not working. Please do not engage CJC staff. We are operating the information center here at the clubhouse, and between the front desk, myself and Jen, we need to hear from you if there's a problem. You have a dehumidifier that all of a sudden tripped out. You notice water leaking from your roof. Those are things we want you to report to us. You can email me, you can email Jen, or you can stop by the front desk when they're open. CJC, those guys, there's a lot of folks here. They're working hard. You know, they're in the field. They're not designed to write down on a piece of paper and then remember that what your address was and your issue. So get that to us here at the club, and we will get that information to them. And I can tell you, when that's happened, things have moved much more smoothly. So do we need to clear out our outside first floor storage space up to 4-foot level? Yeah, I mean, I would definitely look at your garages and your storage spaces and make sure that personal property that's in there, anything that was damaged, you don't want to save, let's get that to the junk piles. And if you've got stuff you are going to save, try to centrally locate that best you can. Again, the crews will move things out of the way if they need to. But if you can help them out, it also helps. I'm going to digress a minute though, to give you an update, excuse me, on remnant pickup that we just got today. So we finally were successful in getting a contact at Lee County, and we confirmed with them that their help, which is being funded by FEMA, which includes pickup of home remnants and debris as well as landscape, we could see that crew in our gates as early as next week. They are currently in Iona. They're going to be working their way from Winkler, and we have a contact, so we're going to have better indication when they're going to be here. So when they come through, these are those double tandem trucks that you probably have seen if you've been out of the gates up and down Summerlin, but it's quite the operation. They're going to come in and they're going to get all that out of our way immediately. So hopefully those issues of debris piles, et cetera, are rectified here more sooner than later. If we have to replace our lower cabinets, should we get these on order immediately? Again, that's your decision. We don't know all the details of how the restoration process is going to work, but I can guarantee you one of the options is going to be you can contract out this yourself, and then once the work is complete, then get a payment based on the amount of the claim and everything else that's been paid in the claim. So you have some reimbursement opportunity after the fact. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to lose your cabinets, if you have a cabinet maker you like, you can certainly put that order in. Again, this would be a situation where it would be a reimbursement after the fact, and that's going to happen down the road as we're in the restoration process. So, yeah, there should be a way to claim a property as habitable and expected to opt out of the order to vacate. And again, I mean, I think I explained it already, but the order to vacate, because of what we're dealing with, if the water mapping people come through, and I don't know of any confirmed situation, but I've heard some people say they've talked to the water mapping people. But if they come through and they potentially say there's no water in this building that touched anything, then potentially your association could say, okay, maybe that one's going to be open. But from what I'm hearing, I mean, everybody got some water. And if this water touched something that's porous, that's where the concern is. It's not the amount of water or how long it sat there. And again, we're just following the experts' advice because we have to in order to make sure we are compliant with our insurance claim. So that's really what it boils down to. Are we allowed at all in after the 19th to let insurance adjusters in? Again, I think there's certainly going to be some exceptions. If you need to meet an insurance adjuster here, I can't see that being a problem. We're going to try to be as open as we can to help you with that. And we know some of you still need to meet your insurance adjuster. So I don't see that being a problem. Is CJC going to restore whatever they take out? Potentially. I mean, CJC is going to be probably an option in the restoration process. We may have other contractors available at that time. And then of course, like I said before, you're going to have an option to contract out yourself if you want to do something more custom or upgraded. Who to tell? Yeah, if you have a dehumidifier that's not working, just shoot me an email. That's the best thing to do. I provide Clyde Johnson a list every morning, bright and early, of emails that I collected the day before on matters like that. If something's a major priority, like, you know, a tree just fell in front of my house, or I've got water pouring out of my ceiling, we try to get that to them immediately. But we communicate to them all of these isolated issues, and they've got a strike team going around taking care of that. Will units be livable after remediation? Again, I think I covered that, but I mean, we're going to try after remediation to figure out who is prioritized in terms of wanting to get back there and potentially look at some more short-term options. We're still discussing that, but our goal is to get you back here as soon as we can. Once things are removed, whose responsibility is to replace cabinets, floors, and counters? I mean, the responsibility ultimately lies with the association, but I've already mentioned that I think the association is going to allow all y'all to get your own outside contractors if you want, and do this work. So I hope I answered that question. Yes. So have all the first floor units on South Mount Cove been ordered to vacate? That is correct. All first floor units. The only area where I'm aware of, and again, don't quote me on this because I may be missing something, but the only area that I'm aware of where there's still a significant part of water mapping to conclude as of last night was Somerset Villas. And if you're in Somerset, that's why we put the 4th paragraph in your announcement. If you go back and read it, if you're from Somerset, that kind of alerts you to that process hasn't been completed and what if scenarios. So just pay attention if you're from Somerset, the 4th paragraph of that communication. Yeah. Good question. Security. So we're actually working. Obviously, we've got our front gate staff on 24/7 again. So you're going to have one roving cart at all the times, especially at night. We also are working with Clyde Johnson. They have security folks and safety folks out here, and they are providing us some assistance at night as well, because we do have some buildings that are on fire watch, just because there's been errors detected in the electronic fire panel. So that's standard protocol. If we get a trouble message, we really have to put the building on visual fire watch, which is basically a check every 30 minutes visually. So they're helping with that. So we do have some folks in there looking out for things. And obviously with these areas being vacant here next week, we're going to put more attention to that. So we have custom cabinets and bathroom. Is that going to be restored? Yeah, I think I answered that. I mean, they're adjusting this based on what you have. And so, you know, I would assume that, you know, if you had nicer countertops, then you're going to have potentially a higher value than somebody that had Formica countertops. But that's my understanding of the process. Yes. Coming down this weekend to remove our possessions, does that mean we can't get in? Absolutely not. You can come down. And actually, if you haven't been down here yet and you can't get down here until the day after the deadline to leave, just contact me. We can make arrangements for you to get in there. That's no problem at all. I mean, email me if that's that situation. We want to give you that opportunity. So that's not a problem. Not taking upper kitchen and cupboards out. That is correct. I have not heard of any indication where the moisture mappers have recommended upper cabinets. So they are going to stay. Provide another email address since some of us didn't receive it. I don't think it's an email address issue. It may be our system that we had a problem with. I mean, when you see that many, I mean, again, we send thousands of emails out at a time, and it's rare to see more than 5 or 10 bounce back. And it's usually just some little weird nuance. So the issue is probably on our side, and Sharon and her crew are working on that. So I don't think you need to provide another email at this point. Whose responsibility is to paint? You know, that's going to be done in the restoration process. So that'll depend on who you contract or who you partner with to do your restoration, is the painting of the wall. So what about saving flooring to ceiling? Yeah, I doubt with this 4-foot drywall cut, I can't see any floor to ceiling mirrors making it through that process, but that's just my assumption. Will lanai tile be removed? Great. That's a good question. I didn't touch on that. So the other thing we confirmed with the moisture mapping team is that unless there is visible damage on your tile, in other words, unless they actually see it bubbling up or pushing up, or they see areas where it's obvious the water got through the grout, the tile flooring will remain and it will be cleaned and regrouted. That's part of what's being adjusted for all tile floors. So tile floors will not come out. That is not a porous material, but pretty much any other engineered floor that you have is going to be a porous material and will come out. But tile, that was some good news we got. If you're okay with just a little bit of good news, that's going to be savable. Are we able to have someone go in and remove our clothing? Yes. Just call the front gate and let them know they're coming. But if you want somebody to come in and grab some things for you, that absolutely can happen. Yes. Is Cat 3 water in second, third, and fourth floors Sutton Walk? No, it's not. No evidence of any of the Cat 3 water getting to the second levels, the non-ground levels that we've seen. The safety of breathing the air because of the bad smell, that hasn't been done. I mean, I'll certainly ask about that, and I think our environmental team is a good person to ask, but no, we haven't. And I know Sutton Walk, you all have it the worst because you're closest to the preserve, but I can tell you, even a mile down the road, it seems like every other day, one day it smells horrible and the next day it doesn't smell as bad. So, I mean, I know that smell is everywhere now. Tile floors, I answered. Garage doors submerged in Cat 3 black water in any place. No, a garage door isn't going to be a porous surface, right? That's going to be a hard surface that can simply be cleaned. Again, the Cat 3 issue with the water is on porous surfaces, things that the water is going to get absorbed into. So a metal, front door, a metal garage door. It's just a cleaning issue at that point. Yeah, the question is why Monday morning instead of Friday morning? Quite honestly, we need time to get our resources available, and we're working through the weekend on that. Somebody's asking why not start the outreach tomorrow. I mean, we were just informed of this yesterday. We rallied the staff yesterday afternoon, and if we're going to do an outreach, I want to have something where I can provide you absolute solutions and confirmed information, and I wanted to give staff time to collect that. So, I mean, if somebody that's severely displaced wants to check with me over the weekend, please do. I mean, if I've got members emailing me saying their unit's available, I'll put you guys together over the weekend. I have no problem with that. But to officially set up the outreach center and do it in an organized fashion, that's going to happen on Monday. But if you want to email, call me, whatever you want to do, I'm available. And if you don't get me, leave a message or send me a text. Stucco cement walls in the garage. Do we have to put personal items in the middle? I mean, I would, only because they may still do a wash of those areas. I don't know what they're going to do with stucco. I mean, obviously cement is much easier. They're not going to cut that out, but I can see them potentially washing that. So I would still, regardless of your garage wall situation, I would still put your stuff in the middle of the floor. That's just a suggestion. Will restoration and rebuilding reflect new building codes? It will have to, certainly. Yeah, I mean, if there's new building codes that come up, then whatever we do is we're certainly renovating large spaces. So I would assume that would happen. Somebody said they emptied, cleaned out, dried out their storage unit on Bridgestone ground floor and using for storage. Is that sufficient remediation? The crew's going to still get in there. They're still going to come in there. Again, if you've got drywall, they're probably going to replace a cut of that. So I don't want to say anything is sufficient at this point. That's going to be determined by the professional crews doing this. So we'll find out down the road. Yes, somebody's asking, are they moving out bathtubs and bathroom floor tile? Very good chance of that. I think the bathroom floor tile may be okay. It depends on the subfloor there, but the issue is definitely with some of the bathtubs, the water getting behind it. So that, I can see those bathtubs and those shower sets potentially being moved. And I think they're going to try to evaluate that on case by case. But if there's evidence that that water got underneath that into the subfloor, then that would be a concern. Wind adjuster schedule. Gotcha. This is a note from one of the Waterford Association board members. Says wind adjuster scheduled to examine Waterford units, the wind adjuster on 10/17. Please leave your door unlocked to expedite the speed of the inspection. This will help all Waterford owners. So that's 10/17. You've got a property insurance adjuster coming to look at wind damage in Waterford. Question about the restoration process and homeowners receiving a check to proceed with their own interior refurbishments. I'll reserve the official answer until we get into the restoration details process, which we're working through. But I can tell you this, go back to the beginning of this conversation in terms of who really has ownership and responsibilities for the things we're remediating and restoring. I wouldn't give advice to any of your board to hand over a check to anybody until they made sure that that owner put the floors in, painted the walls, put the cabinets in, etc. So I don't know if that's how your association is going to handle things. It's their decision, but you can obviously see where that could be an issue if the association just starts handing out checks for the insurance claim to owners, and there's no guarantee that the work was actually performed. And at the end of the day, it's the association's ability to do that. So. Question about having to clear out the lower cabinets of the pantry and linen closets need to be cleared out as well. Yes, I mean, we're anticipating a 4-foot drywall cut throughout each unit. So if your pantries and linen closets have drywall, then yes, you're going to want to clear that out. If you've got shelves above 4 feet, you can leave stuff there. I think I mentioned they're coming through and putting plastic over things to protect it from the dust, etc. Ceramic porcelain tile, I think I covered that. We have a stone wall that goes into the 4 feet. So yeah, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to speak specifically on like a stone wall, but I mean, if there's drywall behind that and they see that, and there's concerns that water got underneath that stone and up that drywall, they may have to take that stone wall out. But again, that would be reflective in somebody adjusting your unit and recognizing you had stone walls and then giving you some replacement value to replace that. Again, I'm speculating. That's not something that somebody told me specifically, but I'm just using what I've heard to answer your question. When will Southmont Cove Association inspector and adjuster review units for wind damage? Yeah, I don't think we've heard from the property insurance adjusters in Southmont Cove. At least it's not been on my calendar. So we're still waiting on wind property adjusting for Southmont Cove. We do have flood adjusters in your community, but not that. Do we need to use CJC for your restoration process? I think I answered that already. No, you don't have to. Timeline for elevator repair. So we are still working on pumping out the pits at Sutton Walk and at Waterford, I think it is. Once the pits are pumped out, then these service crews can get in there and they can evaluate the extent of the damage. And I said this in yesterday's call. And again, I'm offering you more of an opinion or speculation, but those of you with elevators know when an elevator goes down in normal times, how frustrating it is to get parts for elevators because they're so old. I think you all understand that at some point in time, you've got to do an elevator renovation. I certainly can see your association looking at this as an opportunity to renovate your elevators as opposed to trying to repair them, only because it's probably going to end up being quicker and it may end up being cheaper, depending on what extent of damage you have there. What that means is we're looking at an extended time for elevators to be down. And extended means it's not weeks, it's months. So again, not what you want to hear if you live on the 4th floor. But I have to tell you what I know and be realistic. And I think that's being realistic on elevator situations around all of those 4 associations. Can't the schedule be staggered for remediation? I'm not sure. Schedule be staggered remediation. I'm not sure the context of that. I guess maybe, yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. I mean, what we're going to be doing here, and this will happen early next week, is we will have crews in each association. And the way that the most efficient way to do this is they'll have specialized crews. They'll have crews that'll be coming through and they'll be cutting drywall. They'll have crews coming through behind them, getting cabinets out. They'll have crews coming in behind them, doing a cleanup wipe. And these guys will go around each community in succession order to make sure nothing's skipped, nothing's missed. So that part of the process really hasn't fully optimized yet, but it will next week as there are more crews coming on site to start this. ETA on garage doors. So I guess if you have a garage door issue, we've encouraged you to reach out to your garage door contractor and go ahead and get that work done and save that receipt. You don't need to wait to have that done. And I know many of you have already done that, but go ahead and do that. Will tubs be replaced? Yes, if tubs are taken out, it will be part of the insurance claim to put them back in. I went online to register and it said, if you have insurance, do not register. Should I still register? I'm thinking, if you're talking in reference to FEMA, I'm not sure. I went through the FEMA process because I wanted to see what it was all about. And I certainly answered honestly and said I had insurance, and I got through the registration process and was given a PIN and an updated status. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there. If you're referring to FEMA, I don't believe a prerequisite is that you don't have insurance, at least from what I experienced. Best case. Somebody's asking, a question here about my opinion on, I cleaned with a 10% bleach solution and floors, also used a mold bacterial solution made for this on all furniture legs, anything touching water and fabric material have been disposed of. Your opinion on how this affects saving items. Again, I mean, you've obviously done quite a bit. I really don't want to offer, any sort of advice on whether I think that's sufficient or not. I think that's up to each personal property owner, but I mean, you've obviously taken a lot of steps to try to save things. So I really don't want to comment farther than that and give you any direction. Process seems to be very slow. Why can't we wait and leave once they are ready to start tearing out? So I understand people's frustrations. I mean, I don't know how much everybody's been outside the gates or what kind of contact you have with other communities that sustained the significant damage that we did. And we're talking about 500 units over 5 associations. I've talked to them. I've seen them. I mean, nothing's happening fast around here, but we are faster than everybody else. I'll guarantee you that. I mean, obviously there are one-offs where somebody hires a single company to do their unit. Could they be faster than us? Absolutely, they could be. But the association's responsibility is every unit in your buildings. So they don't have the responsibility for one. And let's just take a step back in a hypothetical. If we didn't mobilize and we didn't get a single contractor in here to help out, I can't imagine having to empower 500 unit owners to hire their own contractor and to do this work right. I mean, that is just not a realistic way that we would have solved this problem. And it certainly wouldn't be in the best interest of your association to say, go take care of it yourself and bring us your receipts when you're done. But you will see this process, and it has. I mean, it's hard to believe we've only been doing this for 13 days. 13 days, because the Thursday after the storm doesn't count, because all we were doing was saving people from debris and checking on them. We weren't doing anything Thursday. So we've been doing this for 13 days. And to think about how we've ramped up in 13 days and that will only continue to excel and multiply. So, I mean, this process, we're going to move as fast as humanly possible. And I believe we're out in front of a lot of people right now. But what to do about appliances? It's hard to clean the underside and inner workings of refrigerator stoves, washer, dryer. Should these be junked? If so, how? The how part is a little bit more difficult. I mean, my understanding is I believe that FEMA and Lee County are picking up appliances, but I haven't confirmed that. However, I don't think the best guidance is for you all to take your fridges and your dishwashers and put them in your junk pile, because we are already having major issues with junk piles right now. In terms of cleaning it, I would just refer you back to, try to do your own research, talk to people maybe that'll give you more professional advice on that. But I think I've stated with that water where the concerns are. The concerns are in porous materials. And for the most part, at least the exterior of your fridges and your stoves, that isn't porous material, that's metal. So my understanding is it could be clean. Middlebrook Court, waiting to see an adjuster. Yeah, so in Somerset, so for some reason, we've heard from 2 of the 3 adjusters in Somerset, and they're on site completing work, still waiting to hear from the 3rd adjuster. Again, we don't control when the adjusters call us. I mean, they call us and they introduce themselves, and then we say, whenever you're going to be here, we're going to meet you, whether it's 6 in the morning on a Sunday or 8 at night on a Monday, we greet them. So we're waiting for that. What will happen to working appliances? I think we just covered that. Does replacement of cabinets include upper cabinets? I mean, if those upper cabinets were not pulled down, I doubt that they're going to include the upper cabinets. I don't know that for sure until we get the report back, but I'm just trying to think reasonably that they're not. And I know the concern is, how do you match it? I get that, but I don't think the insurance policy would cover for that. But when are the upper floors going to be looked at by CJC for remediation? When are the upper floors going to be looked at by CJC for remediation, and when? So that's going, I mean, once we get this process started in earnest and focusing on what is really the number one priority is the lower units with the water damage, they're going to start working through second floors. But we've put out several communications now this week that said, check out your unit, report to us any damage you see, and we're evaluating those notes. And if it's something that needs to be taken care of sooner than later, we will realign crews to take care of that. So let us know what you have going on in your second and up floors. Association adjuster came, said appliances have to go, but did not take serial numbers as you indicated yesterday. Do we need to be concerned that he did not do that? Here's what I've seen is I think I've probably met with 8 or 9 adjusters now in the last week. They all do it differently. Some of these folks come in here and I mean, they're getting the serial number off of everything they can, and others just come in and take a couple of photos. So here's what I suggest. If you've got a refrigerator that isn't working because of the storm, take a picture of it. If you can grab the serial number, even better. I think we've told you that from the get-go, is take pictures of things, take samples of things. I don't know what they're going to ask for. This is an overwhelming insurance claim. So, are they going to check and verify, samplings of everything for 500 units? I have no idea how far they're going to go down, but it doesn't hurt to have that. Is that date October 18th and November 18th? I assume you're referring to the date on the email communication to vacate. All those dates are October. Sutton Walk roofs cause more water damage. Absolutely. And if you live out there, you've seen that we've got roofers out there right now trying to secure some of the issues. The big issues is those vents on the roof that have been blown out, which basically just create a hole in the roof. The other big issue out there that's even more pressing is the loose tile. As tall as that building is, if that loose tile isn't removed, if we get a windstorm and it blows off, it could cause some significant damage to people or property. So Sutton Walk is the number one priority in terms of roofs. It did take some time to get a crane in. That's what we were waiting on. You cannot access that without a crane. That crane's on site, as well as 4 lift trucks. And if you've been back there, there's a flurry of activity going on the roofs back there. Floor tiles are porous. Are you now saying the floor will be coming out. No, I mean, what we're hearing from both the environmentalist and the adjusters is that tile flooring is not porous and will not automatically be taken out. That unless they find evidence of water intrusion under that tile floor, the process will be to clean the grout in the floor and to possibly re-grout if need be. So that's what we're hearing is the process to the standard protocol to remediate Cat 3 water on tile flooring. If we have custom cabinets already, we'll be reimbursed by the value of those cabinets. So I don't want to get into what values are reimbursed. However, they are adjusting individual properties. So my assumption is, and I think it's a good assumption, is if you had, custom cabinets and, quartz countertops, then that's going to be valued higher than somebody that has, builder grade cabinets and Formica countertops. So that's my understanding. Somebody's asking if the roof of Sutton Walk was damaged further with Ian because it was damaged from Irma and wasn't replaced. Absolutely. Yes. Extensive damage from Ian on the Sutton Walk roofs. I mean, that took the height of the storm. It's the highest building. And we were still dealing with some damage that happened with Irma there. So yes. Yeah. Who is responsible for the current condition of the roof? I mean, that, again, you're an association, you all own that. So in terms of responsibility, I mean, that is the ultimate responsibility with that is the association and that's their asset. So that is where the responsibility lies. Kitchen appliances, we answered that. We need to keep all unit unlocked at all times during remediation. That's what we're asking you to do is keep your unit unlocked. I mean, it definitely makes the process go faster. So yes, that's what we're asking. Is there a way to add another email address? That may be a question to send to the front desk. I'm not sure about that. So front desk at LexingtonCountryClub.com or Sue Conway. It's SCONWAY at LexingtonCountryClub.com. Can we close the other entrance gates to enhance security? Good question. We just ordered the boxes. We had both boxes in the back gate were annihilated. And those boxes are what runs the electronic components for those back gates. They were just ordered. So we had to get quotes and it took us a while to get that, but they are on order. As soon as they're in, we're assuming we're good with Comcast, et cetera, back there in terms of internet and utilities. So we'll put them in and we'll get those gates closed, but we cannot close those gates because of EMS protocol. So we can't just close them and lock them down, because what will happen is if the fire department comes down Winkler and those gates are closed, they're coming through the gates. I mean, they're going to crash through there. They're not going to come back around to Bass Road. Can the cabinet doors be saved? I'm not sure about that. I mean, again, if it took any water at all, no, they won't be saved for sure. If water touched appliances, but they work, are you saying they'll be tossed? No, I'm not saying that. Again, porous surfaces, most appliances are metal, so they can be cleaned. Answered that. Somebody, I maybe you weren't on the call, but yeah, the Southmont Cove email database for some reason is giving us struggles today. The first time we sent out the 400 and some emails, we had 260 bounce back. We resent it, had 100 bounce back, and then Sharon resent it again, and I haven't gotten an update if anything else was bounced back. I have no idea why it's doing that. We're working on that. If you need a copy of that Southmont Cove email or any of the other associations, there are printed copies up here at the front desk. So when vacating the unit, should we be shutting off water, power, water heater? No, I wouldn't. I mean, appliances are fine, but they may need to use water. They're definitely using electricity in there because of the fans, et cetera. So nothing you need to do in terms of shutting that off. FEMA insurance adjuster was asking for Lexington's comprehensive insurance document. Absolutely. So you can send an email to Sharon Landell, SLANDEL. That's SLANDEL at LexingtonCountryClub.com. She can help you. Typically, personal insurance agents are going to ask for master policy. So you're going to ask for a master flood policy and a master property policy potentially, but she can handle that for you. Is shower and tub removal a unit by unit decision along with tile on the walls above the tub? My understanding, and again, I leave me some room here in case I'm not 100% correct, but I think the issues of the tile around the tubs is going to be more larger scale and widespread because of the fact that maybe that water got into the subsurface of the tile, the drywall, if you will, and got that wet. I don't know. There was some talk about maybe being able to save tubs, but then I heard there was also talk that trying to save a tub may end up being more costly than pulling the tub and putting the new one in as well. So I think the issue is if water got underneath that tub, if they can see that the grout was bad and water got under the tub, there's not going to be a question. If there's any chance water got underneath there, it's going to be pulled because you've got to take care of that subfloor and everything else there. So do we need to get separate receipts for upper and lower cabinets if we hire our own contractor, for reimbursements for upper versus lower? So yeah, I mean, if they don't pull the upper cabinets, which I'm being told that they're not doing that, I've not heard of a situation where they have to, then your insurance claim will not have a value on your upper cabinets. On your lower cabinets, if you want to go out and purchase cabinets, you can certainly do that and get that on order. And then there'll be a reimbursable opportunity once they go through the insurance values, et cetera. So, again, it's all tied back to what is presented back to you in terms of value for your property. So that's down the line a little bit. Dressers being kept, do we need to empty the drawers? Not necessarily. I mean, you don't have to empty the drawers and the dressers. Shut down water, I think I answered that. Will we be able to come and go to get stuff out after units have been remediated? Again, I'm sure there's going to be the opportunity, yes. And again, if you have to get in your unit while they're in there remediating because you forgot something, just send me an email. I mean, we can have a staff member accompany you. We'll get you in there. We'll work with you through this. I mean, I know it's inconvenient, but if we can help a little bit, hopefully that helps you out. When will crews start remediation in Somerset Villas? I don't, if you've been told multiple dates, it's not by me because I'm not giving anybody any dates. So I'm not going to let you know that. I can tell you that I would say by Monday, they will have multiple crews in different areas of each association. I think that. Again, this is still 3 days away. So who knows what's going to change between then and now, but that would be my anticipation in terms of what I know of increased workforce coming here starting next week. So that would be my best guess. Yeah. For the person that wanted me to read the order to vacate on Zoom, just send me an email and I'll send it to you. Tell me your association, but I don't think everybody wants me to read that. But I'll be happy to send it to you. Wood steps, garage leading to unit. Definitely that'll be remediated. I don't know what extent that remediation is, but our plan is to start focusing on exterior garages and those walkways that took water as kind of this phase B of the remediation process. Gotcha. A question about whoever asked the question about understanding why you need to evacuate the unit. I mean, if you want to touch base with me privately, I'll talk to you about that. But I mean, I covered that earlier a couple times now about the dynamics we're dealing with, the HOA, and what the best practice is. CJC, dehumidifier not working, email me. Please email me if you don't have it. If you walk in and you have a dehumidifier working, just give me a quick email. We'll put on the list. Somebody said they had wood studs in the garage have visible mold on them. Will they be replaced? Initially, probably not. They'll probably try to be remediated. I mean, mold is definitely something that you can remediate, but obviously if they can't remediate it, they feel like it needs to be replaced, then they'll replace them. Talking about closet organizers that has drywall behind it. Yeah, I mean, definitely on a 4-foot cut, you're going to have some of those organizers pulled out as well. Yeah. Hopefully I covered this already because I went back to it, but yeah, we had issues with Southmont Cove email database. If you're in Southmont Cove and you didn't get the email that went out describing this situation and vacating of the first floors, just send me an email and I will forward back to you the email. Okay. If you did not get it, or come to the club. What time is it? They're going to be here another 15, 20 minutes. Come to the club and pick up a hard copy if you want. I think they have hard copies sitting out in the lobby anyway. So replacing the drywall will be part of the remediation process. Yes, not the restoration process. They will part of the last part of remediating is putting the drywall in. When must we be evacuated? Each community is different. So just refer to that email that went out. Again, if you didn't get an email, send me an email. Tell me what community you live in though, please, because each date is different and I'll send you a different version. If internal walls show no sign of water damage, will they still be taken out? I haven't heard too many stories where there was zero water damage, but obviously if there isn't, that's why they're doing this moisture mapping with units. If they've got an area that didn't take water and they don't need to pull those out and there's no concern about that Cat 3 water contaminating it, then they're not going to pull them out. I mean, they're not just going to pull out walls to pull out walls. So if those situations may be out there, I just honestly haven't heard of too many people, that didn't, have an inch of water throughout their facility. Yeah, so someone's asking, you got kitchen cabinets that you ordered and plan to order the exact like. Yeah, if you want to go through and pull your own cabinet doors and drawers and hardware, if you want to go do that because you're going to order the exact same cabinets and that'll save you some money, go at it. Absolutely. No reason you can't do that. You can definitely leave appliances in your unit if they're not working. Yes. When do windows get replaced in sliders and top floors? I would say that's probably closer to the restoration process where we're going to be replacing those things. But we'll know more here shortly. I don't know specifically. Somebody's asking the example about the fact that in Somerset, the second bath is backed up to a concrete wall. Does it mean the bathtub has to come out? I don't know the answer to that question. But I can tell you, if you took water, chances are some of that wall will need to come out where the tile is. And so that's going to make that bathroom not operable. Somebody asked about recordings, and I am recording this. My technical issue yesterday was I forgot to hit record, and I apologize for that, but I did remember this time. So once this is over, it'll download. It takes a couple hours actually to download, and then I'll get it posted, and we'll throw it into tomorrow's update in terms of letting people hear this if they want to hear it that wasn't here. Appliances. Somebody's asked about appliances. So yeah, I think we put that out to you a while ago, but our understanding is built-in appliances are covered under the master flood policy. And in my mind, built-in is basically your kitchen fridge and your kitchen stove and your dishwasher. I mean, those are built-in. The fridge you have in your garage full of beer, that's probably not a built-in fridge. So that's not going to be covered, I'd imagine. I do not have plans for cabinet sizes. I don't have that. You could try to contact Scott if you're looking for floor plans of those units. He may be able to provide that electronically, but that's not something that I have quick access to. Has the AHJ Authority Housing Jurisdiction declared Wedgewood lower units uninhabitable? No, they have not. This is an HOA decision. This is your association's board of directors that under emergency powers absolutely have the authority to do this. So, I mean, it's part of the Florida statute 718. So that's why they're making this decision. Will CJC be cleaning the cement floors after flooring is removed? Yes. Yeah, there's a cleaning crew that will come in after flooring and cabinets are out to do a clean over everything. So. Do I think mattresses that were not in the water need to be replaced? I mean, I'm not giving you professional advice, but my understanding, as long as that black water didn't touch something, then you're fine. It's a matter of what it touched. It doesn't matter how long it touched it, but if it touched it, that's going to probably be more of an issue than if it just sat above the water. Who will decide if wood table, et cetera, have been affected? Again, wood tables, that's personal property. That is the homeowner's responsibility and discretion on what you want to throw out. They're not going to come in there and throw furniture out for you. Okay. Whatever you've left in your unit will be put in the center of the floor and it'll be covered up. So if you want something trashed and you're not here, maybe try to find somebody to go grab that and throw it in the junk pile. So hopefully it's picked up next week. Has there been any CJC adjusters come into Sutton Walk who has severe damage like windows, sliders from hurricane winds? I don't quite understand that. I mean, just so you know, I mean, there's no Clyde Johnson adjusters out there. The adjusters are from our insurance company. And Sutton Walk adjusters will actually be here starting Monday morning. So Sutton Walk has not had adjusters yet, but they'll be here Monday. Do you have to remove closing from closets? If they're making a 4-foot cut around and there's clothes in the way of that 4-foot cut, I would suggest trying to remove that up to a higher location or put it onto your bed or something like that. Again, if you don't get to these things, the crews will. You don't have to rush back here and do that, but it's only going to help them if you're here and you can reposition that. Will they put new baseboards in? Yes, they will. Reinstallation of bathroom fixtures, restoration phase. You're asking remediation or restoration. Clothes from closets. The wiring for TV sets are in the wall. How is this going to be addressed? I don't know. I mean, if anything, I've heard more positive reports about Comcast when it finally came on, everything working. But again, if you try to hook up your Comcast and it works everywhere else but the one TV in your living room, then put that on your list. When we come around into some of those units at that phase, we can have somebody take a look at that. We have our hot water heater and AC in a closet. How will that be dealt with? I'm not sure if you mean there's carpet in there or what have you, but they're going to, I mean, if it's drywall, they're going to cut around there and do their best to get that drywall out of there. I know that. Doesn't door trim also need to be removed before drywall? Doesn't door? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the interior doors, if they touch the water or that door frame did, they're going to be pulled out as well. The interior doors are covered under the policy. Absolutely. So if you have builder grade cabinets, countertops, baseboard, et cetera, are we able to pay the difference for more customized items? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think people will take advantage of upgrading through this process. So yeah, I mean, that'll probably be more of an option where you will get an outside contractor to come in and you can customize what you want. I envision Clyde Johnson at least to be a vendor that provides a certain builder grade, but maybe a little bit higher builder grade package for some of you that don't want to mess with a contractor and you just want to pick the color of your floor and the color of your walls and the color of your countertop. I envision having a package that says, this is what that's going to cost. And Clyde Johnson is your contractor and you contract him out independently. It's not through your association, but you do it. Is Comcast back up in South Mont Cove? My understanding is that it is up. I've had a couple of isolated reports. One was in Waterford where there were 3 buildings, maybe even one in Wedgwood that had issues, but we know Comcast was on that. And then I had another one yesterday where it was an individual, it wasn't working. But as far as I know, I mean, for the most part, it's Comcast never works perfect. So there's always an error here or there, but I think we're close to being back to normal. So Joe, the wires to the TVs are within 4 feet. Yeah, I mean, they'll just like with the outlets, so are the outlets. All they're doing is cutting the drywall 4 feet. They're not pulling electrical and that sort of thing, if that's what you ask. When adjusters go into our units, should we individually get a report? I mean, at some point, those reports will be generated individually and given to your association. And I'm assuming, I mean, no one's talked about this and your association has confirmed, but at some point, we're going to want to make sure that they included everything they should have for your unit. So yeah, at some point, you're going to need to review these because we have that right of refusal if we feel they missed something. So yeah, I can see that happening. Okay, usually I ask for more questions, but I've already gone an hour and a half and I've got about 30 emails here to respond to. So I'm going to cut it off. I don't think we're going to have one of these tomorrow, but I am going to do one on Saturday. But if something opens up for me, I'll schedule it and let you know tomorrow morning, but I won't do one tomorrow. So take care, everybody. Really appreciate your patience and your understanding. I hope I was able to provide you some information. Maybe you don't agree with it, but at least I got it out there and hopefully it's more understandable for you. So have a great day.